and start again. So, oh my goodness. So, anywho, let's get back into this. LM2596, DC to DC. So, this is what I ordered. I did a little a little bit of research. That's my friend Dave. This thing can take up to 30 volts coming into it and put out anything less than between 0 and 28.5 volts. It says whatever your output you want, the input has to be 1.5 volts above that. So if you have a 30 volts coming into it, you can go up to 28.5 volts, but who does it? There is no specific 9 volt to 3 volt adapter. There wasn't. They're all variable like this. There were some where you can see there's a little tiny screw right there that you have to turn in order to change the voltage output from the voltage input. I mentioned that there's 9 volts coming out of the train controller. There's also 9 volts in the RCX. I'm going to test that, but I know there's 9 volts out of the RCX DC. So on the input, so you got the arrows say which way the wire's going to flow. So on the input, there's plus and minus. That has to be plus and minus. So this is positive and negative. You can't swap them. There's no corrector bridge in here. So you have to make sure, and I'm going to have to make sure when I plug it into the top of the train controller or the RCX that this thing's oriented correctly, because again, if you turn it 90 degrees, two orientations, the plus and minuses are one side, and you turn it the other way, they flip over. So I'm gonna have to make sure that this, I'm not sure if it'll blow up the circuit if you swap them back and forth, but it will not work if you put negative flow on the positive side and positive flow on the negative side. It won't work. I don't want to blow one up the seat. So anyway, so I got 9 volts coming in here. You take this little knob and you turn it, and then you have what I want is 3.3 volts coming out here. Now again, I do not know the amperage yet, but because Rob Hendrick's Life Lights and most lighting kits run on 3 volts to the 1.5 volt AA batteries. That's what they run on. So you turn this little knobby here, and so when I first plugged this thing in, and I'll show you in a sec, I was so very, 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 very happy. Let's see if I can get this on the screen there, because I didn't solder it, but you should see there's a little, I'll hold it up, LED, so that means it's connected correctly. They put an LED on there that tells you it's connected correctly. And so when I plugged it in and I put the voltmeter on here, it said 8 point something volts out of the output. So I said, oh, it's working. No, that's not 1.5, it was less than 9. I don't know exactly. But it was working. And then I'm glad I read the reviews on this thing, because again, you type this, there's 20 different stores selling you this at various pricing and various quantities. There was one one store was selling one of these for $5.65. It looked identical to this one. Now, whether or not it is, I don't know, but some had packs of 6, some had packs of 5. This one had packs of 10 for $13. So I bought that one. So, but I read the reviews, and some people say, oh, I had 10 out of 10. I 10 in the bag, and only 9 of them worked. Like, I don't know if that's going to happen to me. I have no idea. These things are mass produced in some factory somewhere on the planet, and they probably don't have a lot of testing and quality control. But whatever, $13. So a few reviews said, yeah, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, or some people say, oh, I had all 10 work. So whatever, you take your shot, and you take your chances. There's an actual quote there somewhere, and I can't remember. I think it was Popeye, probably not. Takes your shots and takes your chances. It doesn't matter. I can't remember it. No tangents. Bad Dave. Because I just had a thought in my head. Poof. So, but the other review said, what you have to do in order to get it, to step it down, I think they call them bump. I can't remember what they call them now. There was actually nothing on here. But to step it down from 9 volts on one side to 3.3 volts on the other side, you have to turn the little screw counterclockwise. And people said you had to turn it counterclockwise for a very, very long time. And I said, oh, define how long. So I put the leads on here. Like this is positive. I don't know if you can see this. Let's see if we get this thing over here. Up here, so you can see because right now it says 0 volts, which is not unexpected. Can you see that? I think you can see that. Oh, it's falling over. I don't want it to fall over. Get over here. So now it says 0 volts. Holy moly! This. So this is positive, negative. So watch this. Boom. 3.3 volts. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the screwdriver and I'm going to start turning it back clockwise. And you have to turn it counterclockwise to go down and clockwise to go up. Now, of course, I got my one hand already busy holding the leads there. And so you start turning it and you can start seeing it go up. Right? And it goes up to 8 something. And it just stays at 8.47. No matter how many times you turn it clockwise now. And so when I did this originally and I put the 2 tabs, the 2 connectors on here, the 2 leads on here, it said 8.47, I'm turning, and I'm turning, and I'm turning, and I'm turning. And this was still saying 8.47 for like at least 2 dozen full turns on my screwdriver. And then it just started gradually going down. And then it gets really, really fast. So you have to start going slow. And then you want to go 3.3. So let's get down to 3.3 again. So it's about 2 or 3 full turns to get it from 8.4. When you get there, when it starts moving down to 3.3, and I think the LEDs are not just 3, I think they're 3.3 volt. I'm gonna go here. So it's 5, 2, 1, 0. Oh, 2, 1. That. A little finicky. So anyway, 3.3, and then. Hey dude, where's my car? I got a LED out and I had already removed that and I put it on here. I'll hold that up. Let's see if this is going to light up this time. Yeah, come on. See, this is the problem without, trying to do this on the fly. Ta-da! There we go. LED works. So I cannot complain about that at all. So now I'm going to set it up so I can check how many amps each one of these LEDs uses. And I'm going to figure out how many amps this thing can provide. And that's going to tell me how many lights I can connect to it. That's what I'm going to do now. And then I'm already optimistic, hopelessly optimistic, because that's my whole life, that this is going to be doing me just fine in the layout for what I wanted to do. Now, I might not do the full scope, but for some shows, I'm gonna light up the rocket launch platform using this, so I can just connect it to an output either on an RCX or on a train controller. I got to figure out how many amps this thing can put out. I'm gonna figure out how many amps this thing can put out, because I can stack, obviously, because you can stack connectors to the train controller. Now, what I should do right now is actually, let me just see this, because I did not know. I'm curious right now. So the train controller is on full right now, and it is 3.32, as you can see. And I'm going to turn. Oh, still 3.32. So it's 3.31, and now it's off. So the train controller, the second you turn it on, is volts. Now I don't think the amperage is different, so I'm not sure how the speed regulation happens on a train. But this thing, as soon as it gets to the first one, it's 3.31. So no matter where it is on here, it's 3.31. So that's interesting. But anyway, things, and the light turns off. Things that I find interesting. So yeah, I've always loved this kind of stuff. My problem is I never could get right into it because I'm colorblind. So I was never very good at seeing the stripes on resistors and stuff. So and math is hard because there's a lot of math in circuit boards and stuff like that for counting ohms and resistance and all the other stuff and diodes and whatever. I know what all the components do, but I'm not good at putting them together. So I let somebody else put them together, and then I'll just buy them. Like I know that's a capacitor. That's all I know. 2 capacitors on here. Some SMDs. I think that's like a 5 volt heatsink or some sort of voltage regulator. And this thing is a variable. Obviously, it's a variable I can't, 3-1, Bayoter 3296 are copyright. And there's a electron, doesn't matter. I like this kind of crap. I wish I was better at it. I'm 58 years old now, so I'm not going to get better at it. Hopefully I'm not going to get worse at it. So that's where I am right now. I'm going to now check the amps that this light is drawing. And I think that's when I have to connect it in series. And that is over here with amps. I will see if it, I don't know which one I have to put it on and figure it out. So that's it. That's all. Hope everybody out there is doing well, and I will talk to you soon.